All right, we are back in the film. We're breaking in the Falcons Saints. A fantastic W, really a fantastic weekend for Atlanta against New Orleans with the Hawks beating the Pelicans, improving that draft pick they're going to get from them, and then obviously the Falcons coming into town and kind of kicking ass. It is always a good weekend to make the good people of New Orleans miserable, and that's exactly what we did. So first one here, you're going to see they're going to be motioning this wide receiver type across. He's D. Alford's man, so when D. Alford see this, he's going to become the backside pursuit player. And you're also going to get good kind of front side blocks here from Onyemata. And then I think Jalen Walker does a really good job too, kind of making that impact in the beginning. So here we go. At the snap, you can see Jalen Walker. You know, this isn't like, you know, non-factor for New Orleans, right? They're not necessarily trying to win the edge. They're trying to run behind the tackle. And that's where kind of Onyemata winning makes this a bit more of a positive play. They try to hit this cutback. The lane's certainly there, but when you have a backside pursuit player get over here, make the tackle in space, you also have, you know, Diablo here with his club. Let's see if we can get a little better image on that, right? We got my guy clubbed up here, ready to fill the gap, force the cut back inside. He was going there to meet him anyways. So between him and Alford, we end up making this, you know, a 2-yard gain. I thought D. Alford actually had a really, really good game. Relative to, you know, D. Alford standards. You know, obviously we don't expect this guy to come in there and be AJ Terrell or anything, but I think for what he is, which is like, you know, a nickel corner in the NFL, I think he played a pretty good game. All right, next one here, we're going to see the Falcons coming out with that cover 6. Tyler Shuck's going to try to scramble. His check down option over the middle kind of falls, and we're able to get a nice sack. Brandon Dorlus coming off his block as Shuck looks to scramble. You know, I don't really think, you know, Shuck had to try to run here, but I think just nothing's open. And, you know, maybe the coverage change kind of got him. His pre-snap, if you're Tyler Shuck and you see this, this certainly looks like quarters coverage, right? You would assume, you know, we have this kind of press matchup here, but you kind of assume AJ's probably responsible for his quarter, or they're just locking this matchup. What they're actually doing, though, is they're going to be playing cover 2 to this side. So you're going to have middle field safety, and you're going to have a corner kind of playing underneath routes. And then this linebacker actually here, his whole job is as this player gets vertical, you're basically going to push him out towards the safety, disrupt his route timing, and then drop in the zone, which is exactly what happens. Split the field in half. And then on this side, we kind of have more traditional quarters coverage with a flat defender as the nickel. So this is what we're running here. It kind of works out for us. So top of his drop, he's looking right. Okay, neither of my options are open. They got me beat. Oh, wait, I have a bunch of grass over here. Let me get out here and scramble. So he's never even looking to his left. And as he does this, you know, Brandon Dorlus comes off, makes a really nice sack. So again, the cover 6, getting them a little bit pre-snap. He opens to the right. Maybe he's expecting a little bit more off coverage. He's going to be able to get this curl. Not there. Look to scramble. Get the sack. Great job by Brandon Dorlus coming off. You know, not getting hemmed up. You know, Brandon Dorlus has been playing really well. I also want to highlight, so we're going to go on a journey with me today on the tape. You'll notice in a lot of these plays, Jalen Walker, whenever there's a good play, he's the first guy there being like, let's fucking go. Celebrating with him. You see him there hitting the little T-pose, hitting the bird. I love it. Our next one here, Falcons are going to scheme up the blitz here, send D. Alford from the slot right at Shuck, and he's able to get his hands up and break this pass up. Shuck makes the right process play. We're also pretty quick to kind of get on top of it, but again, great job from D. Alford, getting your hands up, getting a batted ball. Pre-snap, this is a lot like the look we were showing previously. But again, just sitting that slot corner, kind of catching him off guard, able to get the hands up, break it up. Again, another good play from D. Alford on a game. I think he had a fair number of them. So again, pre-snap, whenever you kind of have more corners pressed up like this, especially these slot guys, you're not often looking to play, you know, a ton of press from the slot. But whenever you are, this guy is like the biggest threat for the quarterback to blitz because, you know, you're not going to send your outside corner. You're not really going to send your corner over here just because it's too far away. So these slot corners, and whenever teams come out in like bunch formations and you have an extra linebacker type over here or a corner, they're always a risk to come out as well. So right here, you know, Shuck, I'm sure, knows pre-snap that this is the most likely guy. If we're going to get pressure, it's either going to be him or one of the linebackers. Right here, Alford comes. Shuck's going to try to hit the, so they're coming up here and they're running this kind of slant. And it's kind of a pick route. And this is certainly here. We do a pretty good job, you know, navigating it. But, you know, again, D. Alford just does a good job getting his hands up right here. Getting high. I mean, that's a pretty good leap from him, batting it. Obviously, it'd be sick if this got batted and maybe someone intercepts it or whatever, but, that's just not always how it works. So, but again, coverage-wise, you can see everybody's manned up here, so we're playing cover one man, and that's, why that pick route was going to work for them. So, good job by D. Alford preventing a good, better play for the Saints here. It's a great job. We'll see it one more time from the end zone angle. Pass rushing wise, nobody's really doing a ton. This is all quick game. The blitz is what's supposed to really get them, and Shuck tries to get rid of it pretty fast too. So he recognizes this early, but again, just a better defensive play than Shuck can make as the quarterback. Next play, another D. Alford highlight. You're going to see D do a really good job getting out in front of this screen, making the receiver hold him before he can make this tackle, and we get a holding call. Another great job by D. Alford, being quick, recognizing it, being more physical than the receiver. That's just a good job from him. And obviously, you see Watts come in like a heat-seeking missile as well, and he was going to limit this gain anyways. Now right here, you kind of know formationally, if you're the Falcons, this is just anytime you have this little bunch, it's obviously a screen angle. So your job as the, outside corner, and it's particularly like the corner close to the line of scrimmage here, get out in front, push this back inside where you have more help. It's exactly what D. Alford's going to do. I also think, Watts does a really good job getting downhill. So as D. Alford gets out here and he's going to get in front of the wide receiver and get held, Watts is already in pursuit. Obviously, AJ does his part. I'm sorry, not AJ. I think that's Mike Hughes. But he does his part. And again, D. Alford getting held here, getting the holding penalty. And if he wasn't held here, he's probably making the tackle. Watts obviously comes by, gets him in the back. No play by him as well. But I just want to highlight D. Alford because, again, I feel like, and I've done this on previous videos too, I think I'm probably one of the people more high on D. Alford in the Falcon spaces than most because I just think he, it's easy when you're the, lowest caliber starter on your team to kind of get the red mark, but that's also just, how the NFL works, right? Someone has to be the worst player on a defense or in a secondary. Doesn't mean they're actually terrible. And I think D. Alford, while he has pretty up and down play, I think that's to be expected from a guy who, was undrafted and has made kind of a good career for himself in Atlanta. And in this game, he was a lot more on than he has been in some other ones. So I'm personally, I love to see it. He played very, very well. Just another example of it. Want to give him some love because I know he gets a lot of hate. All right, next game, we get a really nice play by Brandon Dorlus as well as Divine Diablo. Brandon Dorlus here is actually going to kind of get this push off on the guard. It causes him to just straight up fall, so obviously it's a pretty bad play by him. But still, who causes the bad play at the end of the day, right? Brandon Dorlus, right? He did something that forced the player into a bad position. He was also in a pretty good position to work across here and make the tackle anyways, because what they're trying to do here is they're just trying to pass this off where he comes over here, initial double team, and then this guy's job is to get up to Divine Diablo and block Divine Diablo. Well, obviously, since he stumbles, because Brandon Dorlus gives him like a little shove and he loses his balance, whatever, I don't really care. All I know on tape is right here, Brandon Dorlus gives you a shove, throws you off of him. So you're looking to engage him. Brandon Dorlus, it looks actually, I want to highlight his hands. To me, it looks like Brandon Dorlus literally meets his hands at the punch and swipes them aside. This is very good play. Again, makes a miss. The guard here, not even ready for it, tries to pick him up because, the tackle's not ready for him, and then the guard here is stumbling. No chance for Divine Diablo to do it. And again, Brandon Dorlus was going to work across the tackle's face anyways. So again, a fantastic play by Brandon Dorlus, doing a great job as one of the young players on this defense. Jalen Walker and I think James Pierce get most of the talk, which with good reasons, right? First-round picks. But Brandon Dorlus, after not playing much last year, I think has been really, really good on the interior for us. And I look forward to him, continuing to show up down the stretch. All right, next game, we're going to see the Falcons coming out, rushing for, playing, what looks like to me to just be pretty regular quarters. Obviously works out for us because James Pierce decides just to dog walk the tackle back into Shuck's lap and get a sack. That's awesome. Coverage-wise, nobody was really there. But again, to me, this is just really impressive by James Pierce, taking bell to ass on the Saints right tackle. You love to see it. We hate those fuckers down in New Orleans. Super happy to see them kind of just get destroyed. So coverage-wise, again, to me, this looks like pretty traditional quarters. The only thing that makes it a little funky is you have 1, 2, 3. So sometimes, there's different calls you can make defensively to deal with these 3 wide receiver sets. The Falcons, since the Saints are pretty spread out here, they're actually going to play it pretty straight up with just, this spot drop here, and then kind of this middle field player. So ends up working out for us. So again, top of your drop, you can see what's Shuck doing. He's looking over here. Well, we don't really have anything because AJ's in position to drive this. The linebacker is doing his job, which is get this player pushed vertically. That way the safety has a better angle to take away it over the top. Down here, same thing. We're just in position to make a play. 14 starting to come open, so if maybe he got backside, he can try to throw this, but Devon Diallo was taking away the check down. And again, if this is his 1, maybe this is his 2, this is his 3, the pressure's at him on his 3rd. So again, right here, he's looking over the middle now. If we don't have pressure, maybe he completes this, because it's certainly there. And since we have pressure, we're able to get a sack on him instead of him get a big completion down the middle. And this is why being able to get pressure with 4 is so big. That's why having a pass rush is so big. So James Pierce, we can watch him here on the edge. Let's highlight him because he's a baller. You can see he does this kind of one-arm extension. So general rule of pass rushing, one arm's longer than 2. Get it into his chest, push him off you, work across his face, and then Shuck has no chance here. Brandon Dorlus kind of helps with the cleanup. I find it kind of weird. I think they made this like a half sack for Dorlus and Pierce. To me, this is a full sack by Pierce. I think they're robbing him a little bit. But you know what? They're also helping out Dorlus, so I can't hate too much, right? But again, great rush from James Pierce. Bullying the Saints all day. Our entire pass rush D-line did it. Awesome job. Again, this was going to be a completion. I can almost guarantee you Shuck was going to hit it over the middle on that little crosser, if not for the fact that we get a sack here. So again, great job. That's impact as a defender. All right, man, it's not just the D-line that was playing well. You're going to see Xavier Watts, along with, to a lesser extent, James Pierce do a really good job here, making Shuck uncomfortable. It's going to allow, Watts to kind of read the eyes of the quarterback. He's going to kind of do this little peek behind him, which is great awareness, recognize the crosser, and kind of get back and almost get a really big pick here. So honestly, just super impressive by him. So again, Falcons, coming out here, playing, really cover 3 with, the nickel responsible for the inside vertical with that safety help. Watts over here, if this player got vertical, Watts was going to be on him. This player drives down. So Watts recognizes, all right, my linebacker has him. Let me take a glance around. You can see he takes a glance over here. He sees this coming here, so he's going to bail back. Meanwhile, let's focus on the pocket here. You can see James Pierce wins pretty clean here at the snap. So top of right here, he wins the edge. Shuck, what this does is it just forces him to be a little bit uncomfortable where he has to do this kind of dip, shuffle, reset. And just because of that, it's one more second the quarterback kind of is just a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket. So maybe he's not reading things as clearly as he'd like. Right here, Watts is getting back to the zone he wants to throw it. And he really should just have an interception here. In fact, I think he was anticipating a better throw by Shuck. And that's why he is not quite in position to break it up, along with, the Saints wide receiver here making a defensive play to break it up. So again, right here, you can see Shuck kind of glance. He's like, oh, I see that pressure. Let me reset. And my feet aren't. All right, I got to rush this throw. I got to get this throw off. And Watts almost comes up with it. They just make a good play as a wide receiver, breaking up that ball. It's unfortunate. Watts is going to think he could have had it. And he could have. But at the end of the day, it's a great play by him. It's a great play by James Pierce. Just getting a little bit of uncomfortable, in the pocket. Make the rookie quarterback, not feel great. And that can lead to good stuff. So, great play. All right, next one here. We're going to see Brandon Dorlus just went on a sick swim move. Absolutely no shot from this guard whatsoever. Just taking his lunch money all day. Man, this is so nice from him. Obviously, Shuck, just throws it on the ground, trying to get rid of it. Avoid a major negative play here, which he does. So, good on him, I guess. But at the end of the day, Brandon Dorlus just kicks this guard's ass. Shuck out here pointing at linebackers, being like, watch the blitz. Doesn't matter when your guard just gets beat by the swim. And yeah, obviously Brandon Dorlus just had a great day. When you're putting film like this up, obviously you had a good day. So again, we'll slow-mo this just and really enjoy it. But Brandon Dorlus, 54. Remember the name, remember the number. Let's watch this off the snap. So again, coming up here, hit him with that inside step right here. Get around him. And we just have no chance whatsoever. And yeah, obviously, Shuck does this little grenade toss. Don't take a sack. But Brandon Dorlus, so nice. Let's watch it twice. Am I right? Let's go back here. Look at 77 with the fucking dive. Oh, man, that's hilarious. All right, let's watch it again, full speed. Let's watch 77. That shit's hilarious, man. Get bent. All right, great play by Brandon Dorless. That was a fun one. All right, next one here again. Chuck, nowhere to go with the ball at the top of his drop. We have it locked up. He's going to look to scramble, and we're going to do a great job retracing our rush lane by Jalen Walker. Again, Brandon Dorless, not super pressure here, but again, he's showing face. He's working his way up the pocket. Chuck feels a little bit, looks to scramble, and Jalen Walker just comes off of it and gets a nice sack. So again, right here, you're going to see Chuck wants to throw this. It's not really there. He's going to turn it down, and then he's going to see, as he looks over here, all right, well, people are chasing. So since people are chasing, I have an opportunity here to run. That's exactly what he's going to try to do. But again, Jalen Walker, watching him, maintain your rush lane integrity. What does that mean, right? If you're going to rush up, don't get too far gone that you're just, the quarterback can just scramble, right? Be ready to re-pursue. So you can see right here, Jalen Walker could have tried to just keep working, but then at that point, everybody's working to the left, and, he's going to have a clear angle to pass, or rush it rather. Jalen Walker disengages from the tackle, which is a great job, makes the play. Fantastic job from him. Nothing like too crazy. Really, Chuck just kind of runs into the sack because nobody's open. But obviously, Jalen Walker still has to make the right play and be in a position to make the right play. So that's why it's good from him. But yeah, next one. All right, obviously this ends up being a really nice tackle by Jesse Bates in space. But I really want to highlight Watts and AJ communicating this kind of switch by their wide receivers, where they're saying they're clearly just hoping one of them's not going to, be on the same page, and they're going to get a little walk-in, touchdown throw. But right here, again, Jalen Walker crashes hard on Taysom Hill, forces, the keep by Chuck. Chuck probably wants to throw this, but if they don't throw it, he's going to try to make the play. So again, what are they doing? So right here, you can see this little motion. What they're trying to do is just create a little bit of confusion with these two cornerbacks, right? So right now, they're saying push. So like, all right, you got outside guy, I got inside guy. And then again, right here, you're going to see Watts. As he breaks in here, he's going to point. I can guarantee you he's shouting. AJ's watching it too, so AJ knows what's going on. So as this guy breaks over here, AJ's going to pick up on it. And then Watts is going to sit here, and he's going to match to the back of the end zone. And it's going to be no chance whatsoever. So great job. This whole situation, again, they're trying to get a cheap touchdown, right? They're just hoping you just make a dumb mistake and they score. And then again, Jalen Walker crashing hard on Taysom Hill. I think that's the right choice. Get the rookie out in space, trying to make a throw. Trust your secondary. And again, he crashes hard. It looks like he thinks Taysom Hill actually gets it here, so he kind of keeps playing with it. But I actually think he does a decent job breaking down right at the top to try to play both. But again, just overextends. But again, you can see this whole motion here, we have it on lock. And that's why Chuck, nothing to do. All right, I can't throw the football because Watts is in the pocket of my receiver. I got to try to make Jesse Bates miss in space. Good fucking luck. And that's a nice tackle from Bates. But again, I think, to me, the more highlight aspect is just Watts, communicating with his corners. Again, this is nothing crazy. But again, these are one of those things where, like, if you make the mental error, it is such a back breaker. So to see a rookie come out there, not make the mental error, make the right play, and again, Jesse Bates break down and make the tackle, all just comes together on a day the Falcons defense got whatever they wanted against the Saints. All right, next thing here, I think Taysom Hill actually gets saved from an interception on the stat sheet because I cannot imagine this is going to be complete. So he's either hunking it out of bounds, and he still gets lucky because he clearly doesn't hunk it high enough, or he's actually trying to complete this to 14, and in which case I think A.J. Terrell is going to pick it off. So again, they're just doing a little sprint right option with Taysom, trying to, act like he's running it and then get over here and hit this corner throw. But again, we have it covered. AJ's all over it. This is why I think he's trying to throw this, and I am convinced if he throws this, AJ's at the very least breaking it up. If he doesn't break it up, he's probably intercepting it. So again, I actually think Taysom gets a little bit lucky. He also gets lucky with this high-ass bounce from Ronnie Harrison. Coming in here that, Anyamata doesn't catch it. Could have been a total disaster for them. As it stands, it's still just a good play for the Falcons. So again, up front-wise, we do a pretty good job by 93. And again, Harrison here, just forcing Taysom to make a quick decision. And I'm telling you, man, like, I think that's fucking intercepted if he actually gets this throw off. I mean, you tell me. Like, he'd have to throw a perfect ball. AJ's in his hip. And, like, Taysom should have got an interception here. He's lucky that he did not. And that's fucking beautiful to hear because this guy's been, playing the Falcons, talking his shit. And in recent years, I think we've actually done a pretty good job of shutting him up. So that's awesome to see. All right, next thing you see, the Falcons come out here, hit the quarters coverage. Nobody's really open. James Pierce and Brandon Dorlus are going to come together in kind of this stunt, get some pressure on Chuck. He's going to throw the check down, and D. Alford just can't make the tackle in space. Unfortunately, on a day that I thought he was pretty good, just doesn't make the tackle here. It's going to happen sometimes. But I think coverage-wise, we're just playing, quarters here, and I really like what Pierce does as the crashing edge. I think he's a pretty violent player overall, and when he comes down on these stunt players trying to free up his defensive tackles, he does a good job. So again, coverage-wise, you're just playing pretty normal-looking quarters, right? And then you're going to see D. Alford, obviously, he's going to be responsible for whoever is to the flat, just as, Ellis is over here to whoever goes to the flat, and you have your middle field kind of drop player. Kind of pretty standards, quarters coverage, right? D. Alford's going to recognize, all right, at this point, he's going vertical. Let me get underneath. Does what he's supposed to do. Get a little bit of depth, because, again, he doesn't have eyes on the back of his head, so if this player's running out here, you're basically trying to take away the window. I think if Shuck should do this over again, he'd probably want to try to throw this in, as he comes off it really, really quick. That said, for all we know, if he tries to throw this in, you're going to see both these players tighten down on it. Either way, he plays the out to the flat, and then D. Alford's going to come up here and just not make the tackle in space. Is what it is. I kind of want to focus this more on the perspective of James Pierce and Brandon Dorlus. I want to talk about the coverage. It's always fun to talk defensive coverage rules and stuff like that. So again, James Pierce does a really good job taking that initial step up and then crashing hard inside, and he's basically going to create a total train wreck of traffic right here, and it's going to free Brandon Dorlus up to get in the face of Shuck and force this check down throw. So again, right here, total traffic jam. Brandon Dorlus comes free right here, make Shuck check it down, and we just don't make the tackle. So it is what it is, but I think process-wise, I like Pierce as kind of this violent stunt player. I would obviously be extremely surprised that wasn't a design stunt. That's just not how the NFL works. You don't freelance like that. So great play by Pierce and Dorlus, and the Saints just make us miss in space. All right, next thing, we're going to get the Saints trying to run duo, and, David Onyemata is just going to absolutely wreck it. Again, the whole point of duo is to get these double teams. They both go for the double team. They both get beat. Obviously, you're not going to have a good time as a running back when that happens. So, again, just a really good job from him. I also think we do a pretty good job holding up on the double team initially beside him, but, again, it just doesn't matter because we get such penetration off the inside move. So, again, duo. If the Saints are running duo to the right, everybody has the guy to their left, so they're trying to get this double team here, and they're trying to get this double team here and get a lot of vertical push. They're trying to get here. He's going to come up here and get that. So, again, they're trying to get this double team. But you're just going to see Brandon Dorlus take this hard step inside and work back right towards the running back. Again, see his hand usage too. He gets that swat right there. So, trying to engage with him. Now, mind you, this is also pretty terrible guard play. I think we can kind of acknowledge that throughout the day, right? This is pretty bad offensive line play by the Saints. We get penetration, though, and we're in the backfield, and we're blowing him up before he even has a chance. Great job by Onyemata, blowing up the duo run. You love to see it. All right, next one here, you're going to see the Saints, have to deal with our kind of pressure package here. We're going to send Caden Ellis, and we're going to drop James Pierce Jr., who does a pretty good job covering the tight end. The running back, rather. And Shuck does a pretty good job navigating all the different actions we're doing in terms of pass rushing. But I just want to highlight, what you can do. And really, the goal as a pass rushing, team, you want to get as many one-on-one blocks as possible. And we see this little shift here. We send pressure up, and we're going to get 4 one-on-one blocks, which is really good. Now, the Saints do a pretty good job picking them up overall. But this player obviously is concerned with James Pierce. So when James Pierce just drops, this guy's doing nothing. You can see he's just sitting here. He's looking for somebody to block. He almost messes up the running back's release into his wide receiver. Right here, Shuck does actually a really good job kind of navigating this, resetting, throwing a good ball out there. Ends up getting dropped. I think James Pierce, probably makes the tackle here anyways. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. Again, just a really easy adjustment, dropping James Pierce. I think you'd like to see him be a little bit more proactive in coverage here and get a little bit more on top of him. At the end of the day, he was in position to probably make this tackle on the guy's feet. So it's a good job by him. It's a good job defensively, just getting easy one-on-one pass rush opportunities down the offensive line. And then begrudgingly, it was a pretty good throw by Shuck, kind of just navigating a muddy pocket. So, next one. All right, next one, you're going to see a whole lot of shifting around by the Falcons defense before eventually they end up with James Pierce on the left side next to Caden Ellis. They're going to rush Caden Ellis and Divine Diablo and then bail them. And as they do that, you're going to see James Pierce just kind of blitz through the guard and tackle and get pressure on Shuck. He looks to scramble, and we get a nice tackle and then a sack, tripping him up. Coverage-wise, to me, it looks like we're running probably some sort of like tricks call with Jesse Bates, kind of hunting the third, crosser vertical. So really, kind of the bones of, quarters with the tricks call, which again is just for 3-by-1 formations, which is what they're doing. That's why I say, I think that's, what the call is. So, but the main highlight for me is James Pierce just making an awesome play on the D-line. Again, a whole lot of window dressing here. You'll see, Kaden Ellis coming up saying, hey, Pierce, get over here. Pierce is going to follow. Diallo's getting up here. They're going to fall into it. And then as they engage with this rush, they're going to bail out of it. But what matters is that the tackles are now engaged, and that's actually going to allow James Pierce to get right through here. Coverage-wise, we're locking this matchup right here. This is locked, so no matter what, we're going to follow that. And then we're kind of playing traditional quarters coverage here. And then this backside safety is hunting any vertical crossers. What ends up happening is the Saints are kind of running mesh here. So you're actually going to see coming up, running across, then we're going to have this underneath. Nothing really comes of it, and you have this big kind of post over the top that you're going to see Jesse Bates. Since he's hunting, you're going to kind of get this bracket underneath with both players, following this post route. So, again, we'll go ahead and press play and watch it. Stop of his drop, you can see right here. We're still following. That's why I say this matchup is locked, because we're still following across. See Jesse Bates looking around. Nobody over here to cover, right? So Jesse's going to look for that crosser. D. Alford here, as soon as this player goes kind of across, he knows he needs to pass it off underneath. So he's just getting out here to maybe take away this in window, which is exactly what happens. So all this from the secondary, really nice, good execution and, quarters, the lock call with AJ. And then you're going to see Jesse Bates just doing a good job technique-wise of playing kind of that backing, tricks call. And then again, up front, we'll wait till we get the end zone angle. Just watch James Pierce kick some ass. But it's awesome. I love Jalen Walker running over there to celebrate with his boy. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Again, a lot of window dressing. We'll have to get through all this. There's a lot of window dressing. Again, getting James Pierce over here. And I'm sure at this point, they're pretty convinced they're going to get hot here. So again, that's where you can see the tackle. He's kind of in position to help. The guard is clearly expecting a little bit of help since Kaden Ellis doesn't come. He doesn't get it. It allows, man, this is just awesome. Just powering through him. Keeping his balance, I think, is the best part. Didn't mean to do that. Let's fast forward it a little bit. Keeping his balance is the best part here, where he just doesn't fall, trips the tackle. A lot of guys would just trip here, and then nothing really happens. James Pierce keeps his balance, able to get a hand on him, pull him by the jersey, trip him up. Awesome, awesome play by James Pierce. Kind of enabled by the nice back-end coverage we see from the secondary. So, again, just another nice day for the young guys. Again, Jalen Walker coming up here, celebrating with his boys. You can see these two, they're about it, man. I love it. They're about it. Next game, we're going to get some pressure from James Pierce that forces kind of a quick check down from Shuck, who Kaden Ellis ends up being all over it. Coverage-wise, I could be convinced all sorts of ways. I could be convinced this is some sort of, cover one robber look. I could be convinced it's quarters. I could be convinced it's just, quarters with the lock on AJ. It's a little blurry on the back end, so we're not going to talk about the coverage too much. I'd have to spend a lot of time breaking into it to really, get a true look and feel for it, but my guess is probably some sort of quarters. Either way, doesn't really matter because we get pressure, they throw a check down, and our flat defenders are all over it. And again, James Pierce to me is probably the biggest kind of predicator on this. So again, we'll try to diagnose what they're doing coverage-wise, because maybe if we just talk about it, we can maybe figure it out. So again, this matchup is clearly locked. Bates is clearly playing kind of that quarters safety technique. If it's half field, he's more on the numbers, but it's clearly quarters. Now, they're also, their passing strength is to this side, because you have 1, 2, and then 3. Now, this is clear their passing strength, so he's clearly concerned with any deep crossers. You can see 21 here. It's kind of going to play his zone. And then this also looks like man. Now, what would make me think it might not be quarters is typically, 21's going to, Watts is going to stay on top of the number 2 inside vertical. But he kind of just bails toward the middle. So it makes me think it could be some sort of robber look where it's just, a kind of exotic, cover 3 type thing. It's a little weird. The big thing to know is that our 2 flat defenders are all over this. And Chuck feels that pressure, throws a quick check down, and then Kaden Ellis gets an easy TFL, and it's a great play in that respect. we'll highlight, the main thing I want to highlight on this play, just because the coverage is a little blurry to me. I do my best here, but that one's just a little bit blurry to me. And James Pierce, again, you're going to see him get in here, and he's going to just make the pocket collapse and make it tight, right? Get your shoulder in there, rush through him. We're going to get a hand on the quarterback, right? We're maybe not affecting him a ton, but, right, he feels this pressure. He's like, all right, my pocket's condensed. I got someone, all over me. He's been all over me all day. I get this check down out, and we get an easy TFL. So, again, just another good play by James Pierce. He got whatever he wanted against this offensive line today, and I think that's awesome. Hopefully he continues to build on that. All right, next one here, we're going to see a more traditional quarters look. It's, garbage time. The Falcons aren't really concerned about giving up some underneath stuff. But it doesn't even matter, because Drew Carroro is going to beat the left guard's ass like every single Falcon is pretty much done today, but especially Brandon Dorlus. And then James Pierce has kind of got the best out of the tackles. And anyways, Rook's going to get on the fun. So coverage-wise, again, relatively traditional quarters look where the slot is going to help with the inside vertical. That way you get this kind of free double team here. The only thing that messes up here is Caden Ellis is responsible for the running back. And since this player comes up here and runs this inside, he's just wide open. This could be just the Falcons don't care about giving up an underneath throw. So Shuck, at the top of his drop here, he should probably actually just throw this check down. This is open. He doesn't. He kind of steps up because of the rush at the edge, and then he's panicking, and then we get an easy sack from Rook. But again, this is another play that James Pierce, he doesn't really win this rep, but he's certainly a factor, right? Like, he's not out there getting blown up. You can see right here, he gets that force. Shuck feels it. He's going to step up. This is firmly a loss by James Pierce. I'm not trying to say this is a win, but at the end of the day, it forces the step up. And since it forces the step up, Rook's right there to get the sack, and it's a great cleanup by him. Again, Falcons defensive linemen got whatever they wanted today. Brandon Dorlus and James Pierce definitely stood out the most. But, Watts had good plays. You see Rook getting in here. The young guys just really stood out all day. So it's awesome to see. All right, last one here, desperation time. You're going to see Shuck just shuck it to the end zone, and Watts is going to get a really easy, interception here. Again, more quarters coverage. No matter what, someone was going to intercept this. They had no chance. Let's just talk about the game in general, though. Obviously, a super encouraging game from the defense. That said, I'm going to temper expectations. Obviously, the Saints suck. We all know the Saints suck. That's why I'm telling you, the Saints, it's a good win. Obviously, we haven't been beating teams we're supposed to beat. So to come out here and kind of put your foot on the neck of the Saints, first of all, that's always fantastic to do because we hate those guys. But also, it doesn't move me a ton. This is a defensive video. I'll talk briefly on the offense for anybody curious. My main take on the offense is just that Kirk Cousins is a very much a veteran quarterback who's used to under center and play action. We did not run it a ton with him last year. The debate is obviously whether we didn't run it due to his injury, or if it's something Z-Rob just doesn't believe in, and then he's doing it this year because basically the offense isn't producing, and Raheem Morris probably told him, hey, you're going to run some fucking under center play action because that's what Kirk Cousins wants to do. I don't have an answer for you. The only thing I can say for certain is I think there's probably a little bit of smoke to both ideas that both last year not running as much under center play action probably had something to do with Kirk's injury and him not being as mobile. Not that he's particularly mobile now, but he was clearly actually hobbled last year. And then for Michael Penix, there's probably a little bit of smoke to the idea that he's more comfortable in pistol than under center, which is what it is. I think the pistol versus under center debate is very overblown. I'm only talking about it because it's such a big talking point. We've been running more pistol play action lately, and it was working with Penix. So it just is an overblown thing. I prefer under center, so that's the reason I mention it, because I would rather run an under center offense. I think it's an important discussion to have when we talk about who we're hiring next, because I just don't think Raheem and them are going to win out. Maybe they do, but I just don't think they're going to be here next year. So that means we're going to get a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator. And, I don't think Penix will be a big part of their plans, but he is on the roster. So, if you're trying to project Penix's future with the Falcons, unfortunately the injury really derailed things, which really, really sucks. That's why I didn't do a video last week. I was too sad about it. So it definitely sucks. But, if you are trying to project Penix in the future, it's worth discussion to have. What does an offense around Penix look like? And unfortunately, we won't really get an answer down the stretch this season, which sucks for him, obviously. Yeah, it sucks for the Falcons. So, yeah, but defensively, obviously, we whooped the Saints' ass all day. Kirk had a pretty good day on offense, but defensively, the rookies, the young guys, those are where my focus changes to. I don't really care what the Falcons do this season. Again, if they made a miracle run, that'd be kind of cool. If Terry and Raheem got fired, that'd be kind of cool. My focus is just on the young players and what they do moving forward. So on this day, Watts played well, Dorless played well, Pierce played well. Rook obviously had a nice sack. So there's stuff to be encouraged about, man. Like there's stuff for the next coaching staff to come in here and have some building blocks on defense. But we won't know who's coming in until we know. So yeah, fun game. Always fun to beat the Saints. Thanks for watching the review with me. Catch you next time.